This was the philosophy behind the establishment of the National Institute of Legislative Studies.
So there's no reason why we cannot double the performance of PAP.
And the major casualty, when the military intervenes is the parliament. They are sacked. So when they resume again, they'll start all over again.
It's an institution that experiences very high attrition rate of membership. Judges, some start from magistrate. Before they make it to the High Court, you will find out that down the line, they have attended so many courses.
To move fast while others are taking it easy and so on. Because when there is a fire next time, to paraphrase the great African American writer, James Baldwin, it may be too late for us as a country. At that point, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are.
Democracy is striving in Africa, much like in other places in the world. Today, democracy has become the only accepted currency in governance. With this trend, parliaments in Africa are becoming first arms of governments due to the enormous challenges facing African countries.
In concluding this short vote of thanks, Mr. President,
much is expected of the beleaguered legislators in taming reckless presidents, hastening developments, and reducing poverty. There is no doubt that the National Assembly is no more a rubber-stamp parliament with legislators taking budgetary oversight more seriously than before. But in spite of the progress made in the past 10 years, the legislature has remained the most traumatized part of government throughout the history of post-colonial Africa. Here in Nigeria, high turnover of legislators, inadequate infrastructure, low capacity and ineffectual oversight is greatly hampering legislative work. Training and capacity building of legislators has been identified as a major procedure of improving the legislature in Nigeria. Since 1999, several donor agencies have contributed to the training of legislators and support staff in various capacities. In addition, at the beginning of each new session, federal legislators undergo orientation workshops in all the geopolitical zones of the country.
Azikwe, Awolowo, Sardauna, Tafawa Balewa, if they should come back, if they should resurrect now, they will come actually to meet a totally different Nigeria, beyond their own comprehension.
And discussion.
Experts and university professors sensitize new and returning legislators on the imperatives of legislation in Nigeria. Important topics like the history of constitution making, the nature of federalism, the role of legislators in economic, political and social development, and their role in foreign policy and international agreements are introduced and discussed in the 6 workshop venues across the nation. After 2 successive sessions, however, the National Assembly, faced with the unmitigated high turnover, realized that the capacity building and knowledge-based support for the legislature is a Herculean task. In that regard, in 2004, a project called the Policy Analysis and Research Project was set up in collaboration with the African Capacity Building Foundation. The project, formally launched in 2005, was designed to help the National Assembly to analyze national policies, draft bills, and organize trainings. PAP underwent 2 successful phases that concentrated on training legislators, publishing documents, and collaborating with institutions. Although PAP was a success, the National Assembly felt there was a need to create a unique legislative institution to train not only federal legislators but those in states, local councils and the ECOWAS region as a whole.
The major casualty, when the military intervenes is the parliament. They are sacked. So when they resume again, they'll start all over again. So it is important that we have an institution that will build the capacity of these parliamentarians, so that they'll be able to contribute meaningfully to the development of the sub-region and indeed the rest of Africa.
On 2nd March 2011, an act to establish the National Institute for Legislative Studies (NILS) was passed by both the Senate and the House of Reps. The Act empowers the Institute to train Nigerian legislators and those across the West African region. The Institute is mandated to, among others, train legislators and their support staff, evaluate national policies, support bills drafting, establish useful database of issues and policies, develop parliamentary communication, establish collaboration with other institutions and parliaments.
The need has always been there, but organized as an institute, it simply means it's more serious. The new staff have been hired, a lot of PhDs, a lot of highly educated people. So everyone knows that really Nigeria has finally arrived into the knowledge, into the age of knowledge, the knowledge policy interplay. This is really an era of knowledge at one level as well as globalization. And for lawmakers, no matter what it is that we're discussing, there's a global dimension and there is a policy impact dimension. And they need a group of technocrats as well as thinkers and broad-based intellectuals reflecting on the implications of what they're doing. So it's always welcome, and as you can see, it's been highly appreciated.
Dr. Ladi Hamalai, who had earlier headed the successful phases of PARP, was appointed the first Director General of the new institution. The institute is the first of its kind in West Africa and among the few in the world. Creating such an institution requires the recruitment of brilliant researchers and support staff. 80 staff members were recruited for the takeoff of the institution. Almost all members have postgraduate experiences. In a managerial interactive session to welcome new staff, the DG and the chairman of the special committee left the staff in no doubt regarding the task ahead.
Now we have probably about 30 experts, professional staff. So there's no reason why we cannot double the performance of PARP in 2 years. I'll hold you responsible to that in 2 years. God's willing, I'm going to ask you whether you've been able to do so or not.
Soon after, the new staff embarked on an orientation tour of the National Assembly to have interactive sessions with stakeholders. At the National Assembly, new staff members were taken round the various departments to see and ask questions about the kind of support services they offer. Support services are paramount in the work of any parliament, without which lawmaking and oversight will be difficult.
You can see the center has just been newly refurbished.
Subsequently, an interactive session with senior members of management was also organized. In a speech, the clerk of the National Assembly explained the management structure of the National Parliament.
Let me quickly place on record that both the management and political leadership of the National Assembly played key roles in the establishment of the reform path and the National Institute for Executive Studies.
For a legislative institution that aims at becoming first class, sensitization and interaction with potential stakeholders is paramount. The carefully selected members of the Institute Governing Council embarked on a series of meetings with members of the National Assembly. It is time to trace the history of the institution and how crucial it is to the development of legislation in Nigeria.
The NILS Act 2011 bestows on NILS the responsibility of conducting quality academic and professional research, policy analysis, consultancy services, training, and advocacy on democratic governance and legislative practice and procedures. The NILS 2011 Act empowers the Institute to act as a center of excellence for research and publication on democratic governance and legislative practice and procedures. All the training are conducted by...
Most of the questions from the legislators centered on duration of courses, curbing external sabotage, and commitment of legislators to capacity building.
Looking through the courses, take the parliamentary reporting for instance. 1 week. Is that sacrosanct? I don't know what you want to learn within the week.
And my question will then be, how is this institute equipped to be able to assist members so that we are very effective in delivering on our duties in a way that can lessen the kind of turnovers that we'll be having?
You try as much as possible to make sure that those who are investing, maybe you can tell people to apply for such courses and even sign an indemnity so that you will prevent this kind of disgrace of our own assembly. Thank you very much.
Let us
also is so committed to the fact that there are other external factors that we must defeat so that this economic deficit will eventually translate into the deficit of the world. Thank you very much.
The ECOWAS Parliament is potentially a major stakeholder of the institution. Made up of 15 member states, the ECOWAS has been struggling to achieve a free movement of people and goods across the region. Recently, the organization underwent a conceptual transformation of ECOWAS of states to ECOWAS of people. This conceptual change is intended to overcome the obstacles of differing government policies that block the implementation of existing protocols. On May 22, 2012, the Institute members arrived to sensitize ECOWAS members on the potential role of the Institute in the region.
You may recall that sometime last year, some questionnaires were distributed to identify the capacity development gap in ECOWAS Parliament as well as parliaments, national parliaments of the ECOWAS countries.
The state assemblies and local councils, another target for NILS, are more traumatized than the National Assembly and the ECOWAS. Earlier this year, the Institute organized an interactive sensitization meeting with the speakers of the state assemblies. But like federal parliaments, they face daunting challenges of executive interferences and funding problems.
We need to move fast while others are taking it easy and so on. Because when there is a fire next time, to paraphrase the great African-American writer James Baldwin, it may be too late for us as a country. At that point, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are. So what I'm saying then is that NILS can offer a forum for global thinkers. There are Nigerian globalists all over the world, in Australia, New Zealand, America, who are yearning for a chance to speak back to their countrymen, to simply say, have we thought of this?